For the last 400 years or so, we've been living under one big idea, that the universe is this cold, mindless machine, and we're just kind of separate from it. But that worldview, it's starting to fail. And honestly, it feels like it's taking us down with it. So let's dive into this, because something pretty remarkable is happening. We're seeing this amazing convergence between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge physics that points to a completely different kind of reality.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the fatal flaw in our current model. Then, we'll look at a really ancient alternative. After that, we'll see how modern physics is, believe it or not, starting to catch up. We'll explore a practical strategy for this new reality, and finally, we'll ask what all of this means for our world and for our own minds.
All right, so first up, the problem. It's a worldview called scientific materialism. The basic idea is that the only thing that's truly real is the physical stuff, the matter you can measure from the outside. Everything else is secondary.
But here's where it gets wild. This is a quote from the guy who basically founded this worldview, Thomas Huxley. Just 2 years before he died, he looked back on his entire life's work and had this stunning realization. He said, "I was wrong." He saw that his own framework had this giant gaping hole in it. It had no room for meaning, for morality, for ethics.
And you can really see the disconnect right here. On one hand, the promise was this amazing future of objective truth and unending progress, with science as our ultimate guide. But the reality? Well, as Huxley himself saw it, it was a cold, mindless universe with no inherent meaning. And today, a lot of people are arguing this has led us into what they call a metacrisis, this tangled web of crises from climate change to mental health that is quite literally killing us.
Okay, so if that whole outside-in model is failing us, what's the alternative? Well, let's jump back about 2,600 years to look at a totally different, inside-out approach, and it's captured perfectly in a story about the Buddha.
And the story really starts with this simple but incredibly deep question. Imagine you're standing in a forest, and every single leaf represents a piece of knowledge in the universe. With all of that infinite information around you, what do you actually need to focus on? What's essential?
So the Buddha is in this grove, and he scoops up a handful of leaves. He asks his monks, "Hey, what's more numerous, the leaves I'm holding or all the other leaves in this forest?" And of course, they say the leaves in the forest are countless. And the Buddha's response is the key. He says that what he teaches isn't all the knowledge in the universe. It's just this handful of leaves, only what is absolutely essential for our well-being.
So the big question is, what's in that handful? What are those essential leaves? Well, they're the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha's entire teaching is laser-focused on understanding our own suffering, figuring out where it comes from, knowing that it can end, and then the practical path to actually get there. It's a total inside-out job. Now, for centuries, this inside-out perspective and science, they just didn't mix. They seemed like total opposites. But after a 400-year wait, something absolutely incredible is happening. Physics itself is starting to ask some very deep questions about the nature of objective reality. So, where does that leave us today? Has science moved on from that old, cold, mechanical universe of the 19th century? The answer is a huge, resounding yes. I mean, just check out this quote from Thomas Hertog. This is Stephen Hawking's closest collaborator. He's saying that in the quantum world, we're not just passive observers looking at a pre-existing reality. No. Our very active observation seems to reach back and give reality to the past. We're not separate from the cosmos. We are active participants in making it real.
And the quantum theorist Christopher Fuchs really drives this point home. He argues that quantum mechanics isn't describing some objective world out there. It's actually describing the relationship between us and the world. The real subject isn't just the world or just us, but us within the world.
So this all leads to a new, pretty mind-bending definition of what reality even is. It's not some external thing we just happen to discover. It's this deep, inseparable entanglement of the world and the conscious beings living in it. The line between the observer and what's being observed, it just completely dissolves. Okay, so if reality is this entanglement of our minds and the world, then that ancient strategy of looking inward suddenly becomes way more than just philosophy. It becomes an incredibly practical, powerful tool. So let's take a look at what that practice actually involves.
The core strategy is actually pretty simple to describe. It's about learning to review the mind from a still point, to observe all its patterns and habits without getting swept away by them. It's kind of like watching a tornado from a safe distance instead of being stuck inside it.
And here's what that looks like in practice. You just learn to recognize these mental states for what they are, just events passing through your awareness. So an attached mind is simply known as attachment. A hateful thought is just recognized as hatred. You don't have to own it, you don't have to judge it, you just see it. And this simple act of seeing creates a little bit of space. And in that space, there's a whole lot of freedom.
So let's bring all these threads together. On one side, we've got a failing worldview. And on the other, this incredible convergence of ancient practice and modern physics. So what's the path forward from here?
I think the science writer Amanda Gefter puts it perfectly. She says that while neuroscientists are scratching their heads trying to figure out how a first-person conscious reality can even exist in a material world, quantum physicists are finding it impossible to describe a world without one. It's amazing. It seems like all roads, both ancient and modern, are leading us right back to the central role of the mind.
And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question to sit with. If our observation, our attention, our state of mind, if all of that is truly entangled with the universe, actively giving reality to the world, then what kind of reality are you and I creating in this very moment?